Right, so mostly I make bad decisions, so this is not an advice channel, but I will give one piece of advice for people wanting to grow stone fruits in places like Zambia. If you buy something that has only just arrived in a nursery and take it home, and it flowers and fruits, don't assume it's going to next year, because very often that will be something that has been imported, especially if it's been imported during the cold season of its country of origin. It's had its chilling requirements elsewhere, and now it's had a sudden warming up now that it's come to your more tropical location, and that's going to cause bud break, which will lead to flowering and fruiting, if you're lucky, but that won't actually mean that it is settled in. Now, so far as I can tell, I have not made that mistake today, because this little nectarine tree, which is a Fiesta Red, has been in this country for at least 5 months, which means its chilling hours have been mostly in this country unless it was refrigerated before it was trucked up to Zambia. That means that the bud break and the flowering and the fruiting that is happening on the whole crop of them in my local nursery should be from the chilling hours in Zambia. Now, this is a cultivar that is for the warmer parts of South Africa, so if any of them are going to do well here, it should. And it is really a peach, effectively, and peaches do tend to do quite well here. We do have decent chilling for them. The only issue is keeping them well drained enough during the rains and keeping them wet enough during the dry season, because although they are pretty tolerant of dry conditions, there is a limit, and especially on sandy soils in an area like this, they do like a decent amount of water. So I've started this off with 40 litres of water that have already gone into the hole, and quite a lot of this that has soaked in while I've been topping it up. And I'm going to give it a little bit more water at the end, but not too much, because it doesn't want to be waterlogged. It wants moisture, but it doesn't want to be sitting in it, effectively. So this will drain down because we are on sand, so it shouldn't be a long-term problem, but we don't want to sort of overwhelm it too much, especially because it looks like we might be lucky enough to get some rain tomorrow, and that would not be the best start for it. But anyway, this is going into an area that's quite close to a lot of plantings already, so not far behind it you can see a ginger bush and a custard apple and an Adansonia, which is one of the South American, I think, sort of hummingbird bushes, which are really good for our sunbirds. And that little mad tangle should protect this from the wind, because they really don't like being in too much wind. We've also got a sort of narrow opening directly up above, which is really good if you can manage that, because then it means you get the chilling that you need. We are going to be giving it companion plants in the form of 3 pieces of Alocarpus and a nice little piece of Stapelia gigantea, I think, which is one of the native little starfish flower type succulents. It's quite interesting because it's a foul smelling flower, but it's very good at attracting flies, and because they tend to lay their eggs on the flower, and the flower is not a suitable host for things like flesh flies and blowflies and houseflies, the larvae don't develop, and so you end up with slightly reduced populations of flies by virtue of having stinky plants around. For part 2 of tonight's planting, I will give another piece of advice, which is that Saba nuts are much hardier and much more tolerant to transplanting than cashew nuts. Both of these are South American nut trees, but the cashew nuts are very fussy about being transplanted, which is why I transplanted them quite so small, which does have the advantage that their roots didn't get too disturbed, because I could transplant effectively a block of soil and preserve the positioning of all their roots. But it has the disadvantage that they are small and vulnerable, which is why 2 of them got trampled to death by guava pickers, and a further 2 of the 5 have now succumbed to drought. And there is one which has got a nice new little leaf on it, so I'm hoping that one will make it until the rains start again, and then it should be significantly hardier by the end of the next rainy season. But we're going to be replacing one of the ones that hasn't made it with a Saba nut. Because this already has all the companion plants, which have all pulled through for this one. For one of them, even the Dracaena has just given up the ghost, but for this one, everything else is intact. So we're just going to be putting in the middle of this a nice little Saba nut and watering that in. And that should be everything for tonight, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it, and if you haven't enjoyed it, thank you for watching anyway. Please tune in again tomorrow, because I will be planting something different. I'm not sure what yet, but it probably starts with Annona, but we'll see.